our opening session, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce today's keynote speaker, Penny Pennington, a managing partner of Edward Jones. Under her leadership, the firm delivers on its purpose to partner for positive impact, to improve the lives of its clients and colleagues, and together better its communities and society. As the firm's sixth managing partner, Penny is guiding Edward Jones through a cultural renewal and a strategic transformation that is purpose-driven, leader-led, and team-based. With over 52,000 associates and nearly 19,000 financial advisors throughout the U.S. and Canada, the firm is committed to meeting clients' growing desires and expectations for a trusted advisor who deeply understands their goals and guides them to meet those with the professional advice that reflects their unique situations. Now, Penny's passionate about lifting more people up through partnering for lasting financial strength, promoting healthier futures, and advancing inclusive growth. She believes that serving more clients and more communities and helping them achieve more possibilities in their lives invigorates families and futures for this generation and generations to come. Now, I think it's impressive. With more branch offices in more communities than any other financial services company, Penny is seeking to lift up more people through three areas of focus: partnering for lasting financial strength, promoting healthier futures, and advancing inclusive growth. One way Edward Jones brings these priorities to life is by promoting financial wellness through his financial fitness program. The firm is dedicated to educating 1 million learners by the end of 2025. Now, Penny's career started with Edward Jones as a financial advisor in 2000, and she's had various leadership positions in the firm's home office in St. Louis. She has a bachelor's degree from the University of Virginia and an MBA from Kellogg and Northwestern, and she was recently named number 43 on the Fortune Most Powerful Women list. In 2022, Penny was elected to serve a 3-year term as a large firm governor of the FINRA Board of Governors, which oversees management and the administration of FINRA's affairs. She's an active member of the St. Louis community, serving on various boards throughout the region, including the Federal Reserve, the United Way of Greater St. Louis, the Donald Danforth Plant Center, and Washington University's Board of Trustees. Everybody, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Penny Pennington.
Ed, and everybody, good morning. It is great to be here with you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be the warm-up act for what's going to be a great day together. I am not in St. Louis today. I'm actually down in Florida at the SIFMA Private Client Conference. We're so proud to be a part of this organization. We have been for decades. It represents our industry and represents the forward look in what our industry can be and do for more people. And I've just delivered exactly the same conversation with them this morning as I'm about to have with you. So thank you very much for the opportunity to get together and to talk about something that is super important. It is, as Ed said, this notion that what is good for business is good for society. Business for good is good for business. And it revolves around this notion of what capitalism is, what capitalism and the free markets are. So I look forward to the conversation, and let's see what it might gin up in terms of the rest of your day. Now, as we start this conversation, I want to say to you that I'm coming from a place that is admittedly from the perspective of being a part of business and a part of good businesses for over 35 years in my career, and being a student of business and good businesses for generations going back further than that. I'm going to share some assertions about this notion of business for good. That these assertions are not absolutes, but I do think that they're important. I think that there is great marriage of the concept of democratic ideals and the free market system, maybe even two sides of the same coin. But we're right now seeing a stark juxtaposition of that notion in the form of authoritarianism and repudiation of the free market tools in favor of oligarchy. Let me tell you about the corner of the world that I come from. At Edward Jones, we have been in business for more than 100 years. In fact, last year marked our remarkable centennial celebration. We've spent the first century of our impact serving clients and communities and continuously growing and evolving to become the firm that we are today. But as we continue into our second century in business, one constant is our commitment to making a positive impact for our clients, for our colleagues, for every community where we serve, and indeed for society. We're really proud of our history, and we're even more excited about what the future holds. But our vision for the future is about growing our impact, not the status quo, not resting on our laurels or what has been achieved up to now, but indeed taking what has been achieved and growing our impact, delivering even greater value for those that we serve. And those ambitions are all connected to what Ed shared just a moment ago. That is the explicit statement of our purpose statement, our big why for why we do what we do. And we've penned that to say our why is to partner for positive impact, to improve the lives of our clients and our colleagues, and together better communities and society. Now, that's a purpose statement that is, for us, broad and ambitious, and it's also crystal clear. It's the lens through which we make every decision at Edward Jones. It is our big why. Now, I don't need to explain what we do to this group. We're all in similar businesses or similar corners of our business in financial services and asset management. Similar to each of your companies, our firm would not be able to provide the service that we do or have the positive impact that we seek to make on millions of lives without the capital markets, without the free market system, and I'll say it too, without democratic ideals. I believe that businesses are rewarded for two things: innovation and relationship. Good ideas. Let's talk about the innovation first. Innovation is good ideas that people want to buy or they want to experience because it does something good for them. The relationship part is rooted in trust. The relationship that we have with all of those consumers and among our companies with our colleagues. Trust by the consuming public, as well as every other stakeholder, is the oil, the lubricant of good business. We need consumers to trust in our brands, to trust in what we stand for, to trust in our why, in that purposeful and positive statement of impact, to trust in what we do and how we do it. Trust is that lubricant and what business for good does in our world. We need our economy. We need consumers to trust in our industry, that our industry is helpful and useful and of benefit to them and has their best interest at heart. So as we think about these ideas, then let's examine whether those things are true or not, and what's challenging about this idea of business for good is good for business, and the worthiness of capitalism in the free market system. Global conditions and events have really caused a lot of people to re-examine the merits of capitalism. Here's a proof point of that. Fortune found last year in a study that only 62% of adults in the U.S. have a positive view of capitalism. And among young adults, ages 18 to 34, that number drops to 58% who have a positive view of capitalism. That's really sobering, and it reflects a lack of trust. I think there's an interesting wrinkle, though, to explore here. It seems that when people were asked about this question about capitalism, they were asked about capitalism as it exists today. There's the potential that capitalism, when working at its very best, can be more helpful for everybody. That's a belief that we share at Edward Jones. The free market system has the potential to do good for all, and it's going to take our intentional and active leadership to manifest on that kind of opportunity. So I've got 3 assertions for you about the goodness of business and capitalism. There are probably so many more that we could have a vigorous debate or dialogue about, but I want to assert these 3 ideas. And then with each of these ideas, I want to leave open this question: what could make each of these powerfully good assertions more true? My overall assertion then is that when that happens, when we think as business leaders about what could make these things more true, that innovation, trust, prosperity, and opportunity abounds. So let's get started. Here's the first truth. The first assertion is that when it's working, Capitalism is a win-win cycle that can increase opportunity and prosperity for everyone. Free markets drive the efficient use of resources. Free markets reward innovation when money and customers and trust flow toward good ideas. There's considerable proof of the good power of capital markets. They allow people to take ownership of their financial futures. Over the past few decades, investors have turned to the free markets, to the investment markets in greater numbers. And as the value of their assets have risen, more people have had the opportunity to grow wealth and to become more financially resilient. Now, technology continues to make the investing experience better, more understandable, and even more accessible to more people. So then that's the more recent view. Let's take a longer view. Let's take a view that stretches back centuries. The average human being in 1800 lived on the equivalent of $3 a day, and that had been pretty stagnant for centuries before that. But then comes along the Industrial Revolution and US-style capitalism, and by 2010, the average American made $120 a day. That's a 40-fold increase just in the span of 2 centuries, where it hadn't budged for centuries before that. Our own history as a company really bears out that pattern. During our earliest years, Edward Jones focused on reaching people living in parts of our country that had been completely overlooked by other investment firms. Our second managing partner, Ted Jones, who was the founder of his dad, Edward Jones Sr., Ted Jones, the son, identified that need. The legendary management consultant Peter Drucker later said that Ted Jones saw a market in contemplation. He saw something that nobody else could see. That was that millions of families throughout our country simply didn't have access to good advice. So millions of families since then, over the decades, while this business model has been growing, have been the better for our being there. I mentioned some of the things that those folks are concerned about with capitalism. Those concerns often turn on how opportunity is provided more equitably. And some people make the argument that capitalism allows too much money to gather in the accounts of very few people. Now, to be sure, income inequality is an issue, and it is an issue that Edward Jones is trying to address, that many in our industry are trying to address. But I still don't think it's correct to say that capitalism prevents those with more everyday incomes to benefit. I'll give you a story. Recently, one of our financial advisors called me, and he was just giddy. He said, "Penny, I just had the opportunity to call one of my clients I've been working with for years. He just crossed that magical $1 million in his account. And this guy has worked on the railroad for decades. He's never made more than $60,000 a year, but he's gotten good advice. He's put away money thoughtfully. He's lived his life well. And now that opens up possibility for him in the future of his life and the future of generations to come after him." There are so many stories of multiple generations taking advantage of the investment markets, the capital markets, in order to improve the possibilities in their own lives. But those stories would not have been possible without the existence of capital markets and free enterprise. So I told you that after each of these assertions, I was going to ask a question. Here's the question. What has to be true for this assertion to be even more positive? This win-win cycle of the free markets, what has to be more true than it is today? Is it better education? Is it better access to information? Is it a long view of how to bring more people and good ideas into the markets? That's for all of us to answer together about what must be more true and what action can we take in the industry to help that. So here's the second truth. The second truth is that capitalism benefits society in innumerable ways. Now, if we were all together, I would ask for a shout out of amen. Let me say it. Let me say this again. Capitalism benefits society in innumerable ways. Just think about things that are readily available today and affordable that didn't even exist a century ago. cars, air travel, the internet, modern medicine, even air conditioning. Those advances are all due to ideas that may not have come about without the incentives of the free market system and capitalism. It goes to that idea that business is rewarded for innovation. At Edward Jones, we believe that business for good is good for business and society. To us, those two concepts are inextricably linked. That drive extends from our purpose, and it shows up in our actions and in the many ways that we foster relationships with our stakeholders. So there it is. Business is rewarded for innovation and for relationships. But why is this so important? Well, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because there is mutual benefit from all the stakeholders that we seek to serve when we are balancing our decisions for the needs that they all have. Those stakeholders are stated in our purpose statement. They are our clients, our colleagues, our communities, even the whole of society. All of those stakeholders give us the license to operate, figuratively and literally. And by doing well by all of them, by making decisions that balance the needs of those stakeholders, our company does well and we are able to live into our purpose. That's why, for example, we offer our opportunities to clients that to invest in things that are important to them and to do that in a way that helps their contributions and their investments go even further. It's also why we've made a 5-point commitment to our colleagues to be a place of belonging for our associates and to create even greater opportunity for women and people of color. And it's why we work in partnership with the Alzheimer's Association, a community that seeks to drive awareness and raise research dollars to defeat Alzheimer's. Why Alzheimer's? Because Alzheimer's robs people of their finances, of their memories, and of their relationships. Now, as I give you these examples, this is not all about Edward Jones. So many companies are focused on the needs of all of their stakeholders and ensuring that our businesses exist to benefit society. I know many of your organizations are doing all kinds of remarkable things and share that similar outlook that we have. So now I'm going to ask you that rhetorical question again that I asked a moment ago. What has to be more true for this assertion that free markets benefit society? What has to be true for that to be more true than it is today, to raise the confidence of the consuming public in capitalism and the free market system? Some of those things that need to be true might be a focus on the needs of all of our stakeholders. What about new kinds of partnerships among businesses and government and education? Okay, let's go to the third truth. The third truth that I want to explore today is this, that capitalism keeps economies prosperous over the long term. We talked about what's happened over the past 200 years and over the past recent decades, but what about what's going to happen in the future, the long term into the future? Businesses respond to the demands of the marketplace through innovation. There's this continual renewal of our economy that's fueled by constant innovation, by paying attention to the needs of consumers and what they desire and demand. Capitalism creates this inherent efficiency that drives continual improvement. It builds economic growth. It increases standards of living. There's this constant push by all of us, by business, to evolve, to stay competitive, and to continue growing and earning the right to serve more consumers. Now, I say this with a lot of humility, but to endure successfully for 101 years, as Edward Jones has, with the same name on the door, means that our own firm has addressed that call. I can cite a specific example from our firm's history that demonstrates this dynamic, and we talked about a little bit about it just a few minutes ago. In the early 1980s, most of our branch offices were located in small towns. Ted had devised this business model. He had seen this market in contemplation, and he built an incredibly impactful business around it. For decades, that served us and those that we serve so well. Our focus on deep, meaningful relationships with our clients in a hyper-local way fit really well with the fabric of those geographies. But our managing partner at that time in the 1980s was John Bachman, and he was working with Peter Drucker, even decades after Ted and Peter met. And Peter believed that individual investors living in larger markets would also benefit from Edward Jones' presence just as much as those in our existing geographies. And in fact, what we found was it was the competition in those larger markets that fueled our success as we moved into those markets. And today, we are nearly literally everywhere. John heeded Peter's advice, and our firm started opening branches in major metropolitan areas all over the country. We were able to reach more people like we never had been before, and the impact of on that expansion was wide-ranging, a larger scale, and helped the economies in all of those areas where we live and serve. Today, we are engaged in yet another transformation, what I call a strategic transformation and a renewal of our culture. And that's geared towards serving our clients more completely through deep personal relationships and comprehensive advice and planning. Ultimately, the journey that we're on is a reflection of a commitment to our clients. We'll always put our clients' interests first. That's why I wear this little chair on my lapel. That's the chair that 8 million clients sit in every day. That's who I work for. That's who the 52,000 colleagues at Edward Jones work in service to every day. We're always going to put them first. And that approach has been central to our firm for over a century. It will continue to be through our second century and beyond. Our evolution is just one example of the goodness of our economy at work. We seek to improve on the great work that we've been doing for generations, and then our clients benefit from those changes. Our colleagues have the opportunity for more of their success to achieve their own ambitions in their professional development, and then all of that fuels the impact that our firm has in every community. That is a virtuous circle of the free market system. So I want to pose the same question that I've posed after each assertion to you that I did before. What has to be true for this assertion that capitalism propels economies continuously higher over the long term? What has to be true for that to be more true today and tomorrow than it is today? Because if we act as leaders and as innovators and relationship builders, if we act on that question, everybody is going to be better for the good answers that we come up with. I want us to think about the collective impact of business and of our companies. The impact that each of our companies makes on society is tremendous, and it goes well beyond the work that we do for our clients and our consumers. There's also the impact that we make on the economy as a whole. Now, Edward Jones wanted to find out more about this as it relates to our own impact. So we did some work with Ernst & Young to assess the economic impact of our firm, and here's what we found. In 2021, we supported more than 141,000 jobs. Now, there are 52,000 people who call Edward Jones their professional home. I'm talking about an additional 141,000 jobs that our work supports. That translates into more than $15 billion of labor income. That labor income, together with indirect taxes and other income from our business, contributed $19.5 billion to U.S. GDP and another $500 million to Canadian GDP. We also contributed directly $1.2 billion to our suppliers for goods and services across our North American footprint. There was an economic benefit to our associates as well, obviously. The assessment determined our average compensation per employee is twice that of the U.S. financial services average. Now, here's why I'm sharing these statistics. It is not to shine Edward Jones' halo, but it is to illustrate a point. We are just one firm, and as we look into the far-reaching impact of our work on the lives of millions of people across North America, We know that tens of thousands of jobs, billions of dollars of personal income, all of that helps make people more financially resilient. It helps families build better lives, and it makes the communities where we operate stronger. There's an inherent goodness in all of those outcomes. It continues that virtuous cycle through which future generations have more opportunity to invest. That benefits our industry, it benefits our company, and it continues the impact that we're all able to make while also helping individuals and families to achieve what's most important to them financially. Those are the kinds of opportunities and possibilities that are created by the capital markets. Those are the kind of possibilities that every firm, every one of our firms represented here today, can contribute to in partnership. I encourage each of you to think about how you can expand the impact that your organization is making. What more can you do, can we do together to create opportunity for more people and more of the communities where we serve collectively? How can you nurture and grow the middle class in our country and help those who are less financially resilient? How can your company make those three assertions that I discussed today even more true than they already are now and into the future? Because when I think about the collective impact that can be made together by the entire business community and the community of businesses like ours that help establish, grow, and pass on the legacy of wealth, I know that so many more lives can be positively impacted. I'm convinced that there is so much more to be accomplished. And the more that we can do together, the greater impact that we can make, the more we can continue to build the case for the importance of capitalism. This rise of stakeholder capitalism brings with it even more opportunity, and I'm going to say responsibility for all of us. We see the impact that capital markets can have on people's lives, one life at a time, one family at a time, and one community at a time. Our firm has helped create lasting financial strength for a century, and we're pledging to do that for decades and generations to come. We want to be a part of that cycle of goodness, helping more people, more communities to thrive and prosper. I know your organization is in it for that as well. I thank you so much for the opportunity to share this today and looking forward to the rest of our time together. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much, Penny. I think it's incredible what the work that you and Edward Jones and all of your colleagues are doing out there to impact not only your investors and your clients, but also the communities that you serve. So kudos, and I think good to take a moment to shine a light on all the good work that Edward Jones is doing out there. And so very much thank you for your contributions this morning.